I'm Sarah, and I'm the CEO of the Giftware Association. I actually took on the role at the end of October, didn't I, Gary? The previous CEO had been in the role for 15 years, and I'm an ex-supplier. So I used to run quite a well-known gift packaging company, and for that, I suppose I've got a little bit of knowledge. We're now working really, really closely with Clarion and all the other exhibition companies in the industry to try and work a bit closer more by connecting the suppliers and exhibitors to provide to you retailers exactly what you need. And in light of all the challenges that we're going to face post-Brexit, I think that the association is more relevant than it ever has been before. We're not fuddy-duddy-ish. From certainly Dave there, my team's very, very approachable, and there is an incredible amount of resource which has shocked me. I wish that somebody had spent more time when I was developing my business for 14 years, that somebody came and gave me some of the advice that I now can have in my hand. I also was a retailer, as is Gary, and I'll explain in a short while his little bio. But I work for the likes of Next, Arcadia, Coast. So I kind of understand a little bit from both sides. So Gary and Jane also have worked in the industry a very long time. Yeah, so...
Jane's longer than me.
Yes, exactly. Jane is an absolute star. She's a gift wrap guru, for any of you that don't know or haven't looked her up, obviously, for coming this afternoon. I'm going to read this off here because Gabrielle's worded it really nicely. So Jane embodies the successful entrepreneur by turning what was a hobby into a dynamic business, with clients travelling worldwide to attend her gift wrapping workshops throughout the UK. Known as the gift wrap guru, her portfolio includes services for a long list of highly respected retailers, including Selfridges, Molton Brown, Fortnum & Mason, and Dior. Jane has published a global book, Gift Wrapped, and has just been presented with an SBS award from Theo Paphitis in 2015 on the company's 20th anniversary. Her accessible and lively demonstrations have made her a very popular demonstrator. She's also a stylist, a blogger, and an international speaker. So, well done, Jane. Gary actually is on our committee of the Giftware Association, so helps and supports us in a lot of the projects that we do. And I just want to say thank you, Gary.
Very
it's
welcome.
a real privilege to work with you. Gary is the MD of a company called United Oddsocks, if any of you buy from Gary, and his partner Paul. Despite graduating in landscape architecture, Gary realised that he was more passionate about business and leading teams. Moving into the world of cold call centres, you're very brave, and customer service, which he loves, initially with American Express Platinum Card, then into telecoms for a while as a call centre manager. Next, Gary worked at KMPG as a senior consultant with some heavyweight projects in both the public sector and private sector practices. Always in customer management and service, Gary then became the head of customer service for EasyJet. I was going to make a little joke then.
You know, when you hear it as a list, it sounds like a glutton for punishment.
Oh, yeah. And finally, vice president and customer service for DHL Express. Somebody told me the other day what DHL stood for, and I can't remember.
The jokey one, drop it, hide it, lose it.
Sorry. At the same time as starting with DHL Express, Gary and his partner started United Oddsocks, a giftware company manufacturing fun and funky odd gifts and accessories. This took off, and Gary is now the full-time MD. I am actually going to let them into a little secret as well, because Gary is now a guest presenter on the Ideal World Shopping TV channel. So he's a bit of a celeb.
Thanks.
A bit of a celeb.
Wait a minute, that's the one thing that gets the clap.
Yeah. So on to some serious bits. We're here to sort of offer a little bit of advice, hopefully, over getting the best out of suppliers. And I am going to actually hand over to you guys to sort of take it from here. So we've put up some 5 questions you should never be afraid to ask. So Gary?
I just, me and Jane, we know each other really, really well, but we haven't spent hours rehearsing this. So, you know, this is for you to get the most out of. And basically what we put together was 5 questions that as suppliers, we always get asked, or wish that we were asked actually. And this is about how you, can I just show of hands, are you mostly all retailers then? Mostly retailers, yeah, okay, that's good. This is really how you can build your business with your suppliers, for me, how you can have win-win situations, because you'll ask your supplier some things and your suppliers want to know what's in it for them, and if there's not a lot, then they'll say no. So this is how to avoid them saying no, how to be collaborative, how to build a business together with your suppliers, and some of the questions that we've been asked, and I always encourage our customers to be creative and come to me with ideas that they've got which might build their business and help our business as well. That's why I think I'm here. So we'll get onto the questions in a minute. But Jane, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I've actually started from being, I would call it a sort of a market trader stroke craft fairs years and years ago. I also had a shop, a very small florist shop. I'm going back 20 years ago. It was straight after school, obviously. And then I've also designed ribbons and sell them wholesale. And I've now got a little shop. So actually, I'm on your side of the fence, and I'm on my side of the fence, if you want to call it side of the fence. So I do understand the sort of the issues that you have with suppliers very much, and I'm buying today, so I totally understand. I forgot what the question was, but we just
That's fine, don't worry, let's just press the button. So they're not in any order, 5 questions. We're going to have a little chat around them, but please, as I had a quick walk around, please join in and ask questions if you've got anything or you want to add something that you do that you think might help everybody else. So number 1, simple ideas about what you can do to go to your suppliers with and don't be afraid to ask. The first one is about exclusives and private lines. So exclusives being, we launch 30, 40 new products every year in Oddsocks. And sometimes I have an idea where a customer comes to us and says, have you got anything that we can have for 3 months? So we'll help you launch it. Just give us exclusivity for those 3 months with a big bang, and we can see what we can do. I like it because it means a particular product has a focused launch, and that retailer is going to put everything into getting that out there. And it means after that soft launch, that pre-launch if you like, then it's ready to be launched to everybody else, but they've had a benefit as well. So that's what I mean by exclusives. But also, and I'll hand over to Jane in a second, private lines. If you've got something from your suppliers that really, really sells, and you know it sells in really good quantity, ask them if they can make you a similar one, but with then their name, with your name on the back, produced in collaboration with your company. So you know it sells in the marketplace, but you've got the only one of that kind. And you'll be surprised sometimes at how low minimum order quantities can be. You'll be really surprised. So for example, mostly ours are 1,000, depending on the product, 1,000 or 2,000. Some, depending on the product, is lower than that. So never be afraid to ask for exclusives or private line.
Does anybody actually stock any exclusive lines or things particularly themed for your stores?
Anything yet?
No. Oh, yeah.
Oh, gentleman here.
Do you mind if I point this out?
Hi, we've got 9 sites, Leeds Museums and Galleries, so we're a LCC run. So a lot of our bespoking, it does come down to quantities and cost, obviously, as well. But each site has its own individual collection, so a lot of ours are bespoke. We try to, or at least linked in some way as well.
Yeah. And how well do they do for you?
They do really well. It depends on the audience, really. We've got an art gallery with a tourist information centre, so things like bespoke magnets and things like that, they're always top sellers, and mugs are standard things. But then we have really high-end product like silk scarves that'll go in the art gallery and things like that as well. So a bit of a mix, but yeah, they do well.
Is there anything anybody wants to ask?
You're That's a great question. So often with us, I'll just talk about our experience. The only thing the only criteria, there's one criteria, it has to hit our minimum manufacture quantity. Because otherwise our factories, if you want 200 of something, our factories, I can't get it made for you, they won't make it. So as long as it hits the minimum, then we'll design it with you, put your input into it, we'll think about the header card, how you want it to look, what the socks can do. So it's very much designed with you in mind. We'll put Oddsocks on or not, it depends on you. So use your suppliers, really find out all of their minimum order quantities, and if it hits for you, you can have your own stuff in your own shop or online. It's a massive coup, it really is.
Is that applied to exclusives as well, though? So something that's going to be in your range and you want to launch it, but somebody's taken it as an exclusive.
Say for a 3-month period at the start, yeah, the sales have to be there obviously, but if you're certain that you can really go to town with a new product from your supplier, then ask the question.
I'm just going to use a sort of case study of my own. I design my own ribbons, they're on my branded spools, and I also have a range called the Handpick collection, and what that is for me is sort of testing the market. So if I feel a trend is coming on, and a lot of trends I predict myself and sort of take the risk, and I will look for certain colours or certain textures, buy them in, and I'll put them on these rolls, which is Jane Means handpicked collections, so people know that I actually haven't designed them personally. And what I did with Fortnum & Mason, because they wanted an exclusive, they didn't want a large order, and I suggested that we do the handpicked collection on either ribbon cards or on rolls. And it was the Queen's, I think it was the golden wedding anniversary several years ago. It was about was it the royal wedding? I can't remember which occasion it was, but it was a royal occasion, and they very much wanted that royal feel. So I sourced various sort of velvets and luxury silk ribbons, and they sold really well. They only probably ordered, I would say, sort of 12 to 24 of each item, so it wasn't a very big order, but the backbone of that was the PR. It was incredible. It was all over Instagram. I did quite a lot, tagged Fortnum in. They would then retweet me or share me on Instagram. So for me, although it was quite a lot of work, and putting it together and actually assembling it in Lincolnshire where we're based, the return was fantastic. So don't be shy to ask for small quantities if you've got a really good social media following. Hope that helps.
All right, should we go on to the next one? Number 2, always, I'll give you a second to read, always a hot topic. I've got a couple of customers sitting there smiling at me now. I won't point them out. Always a hot topic. And now, do you want to start with this, Jane? Then you start this one.
I need to get my specs on to read it. It's terrible, isn't it? Sale-based discounts. Certainly for my business, we've got a small business. When you hit the sort of £750 spend, you'll automatically go into a discount scheme, and there's probably about 4 tiers. There are certain companies who will approach me. We want to take all of your range. We want to take 20 of each, big amount, but that discount isn't enough. And so I'll weigh it up, and again I'll think, do you know what price would you like to pay? And we'll come to an agreement. On the other hand, I have also been in your shoes where I've wanted to buy from, let's say, Gisela Graham several years ago. I wanted 500 Easter wreaths. I was doing a show at Easter in London. I hadn't got the warehouse space for it. So is that on this one, or is that the...
No, we're going to
next one. I'm going to sort of pause on that one. So I have actually sort of asked if I could have, a discount, a big discount, but we're going to come to the number 5 with another discount, which I'll go into more discussion on. I'll let you carry on.
This one is really interesting for me because it's the one I know a lot of retailers really find difficult to pick up the phone and ask for money off. But you shouldn't. But bear in mind what I said at the start, it has to be win-win. When I get asked, can I have a discount, or is there any manoeuvrability, or a million other words that we use, if there isn't anything in it for me, then I'm going to say, no, I'm afraid. What I would suggest that you do, and this is what I really love, is when I can offer a customer a volume-based discount. So I'll say to them, if you sell throughout a 12-month period a certain amount of product in a certain amount of lines, at the end of the year, I'll give you a rebate. I love that. They love it because they get a chunk of money back at the end. And I love it because it keeps them focused on my products for the whole year, because they know there's an incentive right at the end. At the same time, if you want to order a certain amount of a particular product, ask them if there's a volume discount. And they may say, well, you've got 100, if you can stretch it to 200, then I can give you 5% off as an example. So always ask if there's volume discounts, if there's rebates for sales targets, but bear in mind you're going to get a no unless there's something in it for the supplier as well, but never be afraid to ask.
Can I chip in on that one? Really, a piece of advice I would say is when people phoned me, and there were quite a lot of customers, and when times are tough, as we all know, there is that opportunity for both parties. Come in with a price. Actually say what you want, because it's a damn sight easier for a supplier to know if there's any flexibility in it. So if you come in, I don't know, a wholesale item of £5, and you want it at £4.50, it's easier to negotiate, as we all do, by saying, actually, you know what, £4.50 doesn't work for me, but I could probably meet you halfway and I can do £4.75. Those that don't actually give a target price, it's quite frustrating with the supplier, and normally the answer will just be no. In a lot of cases, if it's not volume based, there's always an option and a bit of flexibility sometimes. And what you don't realise is that actually somebody may have bought in quite a lot of that stock. They may have repeated. They may be wanting to clear something through. You don't know what that supplier's plans are for replacing lines or doing something. So I think, as Gary sort of said, always cheeky, be cheeky, ask, because, you know, the worst that can happen is just a no.
One thing I'm probably going to be doing in my company, I use a wholesaler here in Harrogate. It's a floral wholesaler. It's a cash and carry. Every time I go in, they actually give you a voucher for, I think it's 10% of the amount that you've spent for your future shopping experience. I always use it. It's a really good way of getting you back. So I am actually thinking about doing something like that if, you know, clients do spend a lot of money, where we do reward them with a voucher at the end. So I think, you know, your discount can be there and then when you place the order, but you could also negotiate, well, can I have some form of discount off my next order? It's always worth asking.
Great. Questions? Anything you want to ask on that one?
Rebates.
Hang on, wait for the mic, because it's not.
Yeah,
We've got quite a lot of whirring behind us.
Sorry, can I just ask, with the rebates, if someone came to you and said the website isn't yet launched, but we would like your product when we do launch in a couple of months' time, and can we have a volume rebate, what would your answer be to that? Or would you wait until the website was launched and it was kind of sales that started to move before you kind of started having that discussion about volume rebates?
Well, by its nature, a rebate would be you hitting a certain volume. So it wouldn't matter to me what state your company was in. If you hit the volume, you'll get the money back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes, but
yeah.
If we don't know haven't got really a clue what the volume will be, if it's a good seller or not.
Oh, but in that case, we'd tell you. So we would need you to hit. It wouldn't be ridiculous, but we would look at other customers like you, whether we're new or not new, and then say, you know, it has to be this volume, etc. But I'd say probably if you're starting up without a track record, maybe then online, then maybe the rebate thing isn't the best thing. I will just go simply, and I'm new, I really want to build it, explain to the supplier how you're going to help them be different to their other retailers, and then just ask for a discount to say, you know, I want to get started. You'll be amazed. Everybody wants new customers. All suppliers want new customers. That's what we live for. That's what we come here for. That's what we stand on our stands for. We want new customers. Of course, we love our existing ones, but you'll be amazed at what you can get if you're starting up and you're cheeky enough.
Anyone else?
Okay. Number 3, marketing collaborations. Now, shall I just carry on this one?
Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Go on then.
I could chat about marketing all day. Obviously, I won't. But for me, joint advertising potential. You know, how can you sort of market yourself on that? You know, can you share the costs for an online campaign? Collaborations, they really do improve sales, and it does develop a good relationship, as per the slide. I'm going to use, for this case study, Liberty, who I've worked with, and they stocked my ribbons over several seasons and said, it's a crazy, crazy request, Jane, but can we put you in one of our windows? I said, you what? Can we put you in one of our windows as sort of a live gift wrapper? And so in the windows I went, well, you can imagine what was going on. It was pitch black outside in the middle of November. All I could see were flashbulbs going on. And it was all over Twitter, all over Instagram, you name it. That was such a good collaboration for me. And it didn't cost me any money. It cost me, an hour and a half of my time. Fantastic. So again, back to social media. But any sort of marketing opportunities, I will snap hands off. So if I get a client stocking ribbon and they've spent a lot of money and they've got an open evening, I'll often sort of say to them, do you have any sort of wine evenings or shopping events and they're nearby, or I'm in that area? Would you like me to pop in and do a little half-an-hour demonstration? I did one recently in Surrey, and it went down so well because I turned up, they'd stocked my ribbons, I was wrapping, demonstrating using their products. So they were selling my ribbons, but I was also indirectly selling their products. And it's not like a nice merry-go-round that I'm selling their product and they're selling mine. It's a win-win.
So, marketing. Who's got a marketing budget? One. Crossed up. There's lots of this. Yeah. Exactly, that's my whole point. Nobody's got anything to spend on marketing. And you know, these days, with social media, as Jane says, social media, it's the whole world at your fingertips. But let's be honest, who really understands how it works? It's a bit of a dark art for most of us. I know there's quite people giggling. I mean, I certainly have to rely on the younger members of our team to help me figure it out. So, number one, I'd say, always speak to your suppliers about if you're bricks and mortar, we've got this fantastic display of your products, could you put it on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook for us? They'll be delighted. We want content for the social media sites all the time, so they'll more often than not agree. Then you can access all of their other customers and obviously everybody that they supply, which is great. So don't be scared to ask them that. On the more sort of traditional front, ask if they ever advertise. Can you do a collaboration with them? Make a small contribution. Will they mention you, your shop, your site? If they're doing a new launch, can they reference you as the point to buy it? Let's say if they haven't got their own retail outlet, because some suppliers have retail outlets as well. So be pushy and don't be shy and ask them, you know, if you're launching a new product, will you put our website as a thing and give them a contribution to the marketing as well? Online, I'd say, and we want to work in the future closely with one particular of our Amazon retailers who are real hot shots, and they are going to help us with keyword campaigns, stuff that we don't really understand. But if you're looking online, particularly with search engine optimization on Amazon particularly, the more times you get noticed, you have to work at it. It grows over time, and you want to get your products up the list of bestsellers, and that's when you start to sell more. So as retailers, really ask all of your key suppliers, what marketing do they do, and how can you be a part of it if you make a contribution? That's the best advice I can give you, because we haven't got marketing budgets ourselves, and they're always looking to get more money to help them, and this is a real chance to build a relationship with a fantastic collaboration in marketing.
Can I offer a little one that may be of relevance to some of you if you're single retailers, bricks and mortar. But I recently went to a kind of meeting with a number of different associations and quite a few MPs in a room. And part of the conversation that we had to do, and there were a couple of chaps from the Bank of England as well, and we were talking about sort of the high street and retailers, and the conversation came up around parking. So a couple of weeks later, because they were, awful, wouldn't it be great if car parking were free in a lot of towns and would encourage more people to come into the shops? So I sat at a lunch event, and I was talking to Dave and the guys in the office about this, and there were quite a few council members, so I thought I would be cheeky and ask the question as to why some towns offer free parking, and interestingly, our stats in the Giftware Association show that those have more successful retailers in them, in those towns. And this chap said, well, do you know what? No one really comes to ask us if they could partner, because there's a lot of money in car parking and driving through, but actually a lot of retailers could get together and speak to their local council and see if they could partner with them in a collaboration of using some of the stores, and they're willing to sort of consider giving discounts or having that being free. So there are sometimes ideas that maybe aren't indirectly linked to your stores and towns that you could look at collaborating with.
The other thing that I did, I wrote a book several years ago, and I really wanted to involve my customer base. So I knew that I would be wrapping a watering can, I'd be covering wedding gifts, male gifts. And so what I also did is I went and did a bit of digging and sort of, with all the people I supply, who could loan me that watering can or who could loan me those wedding presents and get a credit in the book. So, all the marketing that I've done in-house probably for the last 2 years is actually free. I don't actually have a marketing budget, so I will give away my product or my time or my expertise or, talking like this, but actually I don't try to spend any money.
Never go for a drink with Jane Means.
Cheeky.
Okay. A couple more to go. Marketing, we talk about merchandising. And for me, merchandising has two kind of arms. Number one, it's how much product do you want to buy, how much product are you going to buy, and how much are you going to need, which is really, I think everyone finds that really, really tough, particularly at Christmas time. And the second one is how best to display it, how to maximise the sales and the revenue on each product. On the first one, ask your suppliers to help you forecast how much stock you're going to need. They know every single detail about you, your sales, what you sell, what you don't sell. Trust me, they know every single detail. They know what you've done over the past 5 years. They know what you're likely to do this year. They have to know it before you know it, because often, in our case, our factory orders have to be in for Christmas. They had to be in June. You might not have even started forecasting for Christmas yet, but we've already done it for you without telling you most of the time. So if it's high volume and you're just not sure what you're going to be selling and you haven't got a forecasting team, then ask your suppliers to help you out with forecasting. They will be delighted to, I'm sure.
And also, if you get it wrong, you can ask them as well. I used to have a lot of customers asked if I could sort of ring fence a certain amount, thinking that you probably got an idea that it might be this amount or, slightly more. And actually, there's an opportunity sometimes that suppliers are bringing in top-up stock, and they will take that into consideration.
This year we had a customer who gave us a really good customer, gave us their forecasts, and it was tiny-ish compared to what they normally do. And the result, and the question was because, well, I haven't got any budget. I think I'll do double that, but I haven't got the budget for it. And that was great conversation because it enabled me to say, don't worry, we'll ring fence what we think you're going to need and relax, and then don't worry so much about, for the budget side of it. I just don't want anybody to be short. So your customers will always help you with forecasting. On the merchandising side, it's about how can you make their products look the best online and in store. They've got text that they've probably had a copywriter write. I'll talk about myself. We've got a copywriter that writes our text. It's great, it's funny. Use that. I give it to customers if they ask for their own website. They've got images. We've had images professionally photographed. They'll be happy to give them to you as well for your website if you want that as well. How in store will they come and visit? Will they help you set it up? I know how my socks look best in shops where I've seen it all over the place. I'm not a retailer, but of course I've visited all our retailers and I know the best ones, and I can pass that on to our other customers if they only asked. So that's really important. Never be scared to say, can you help me with merchandising?
One of the big questions I get asked when I'm exhibiting at trade shows is, how do you display ribbon? And when you've only got a little sort of 2x3 stand, you're very limited with your displays anyway as an exhibitor. So I actually decided to do a blog post about displaying items, visual merchandising, and it's great now because I can now direct my clients and my customers to that blog post, and it can be everything from using, let's call it sort of old drawers painted up, with some rods in, and from that I'll then link it onto a tutorial with somebody who's really good at upcycling furniture. So again, I'm collaborating with somebody else. Images, as Gary was saying, are really important. For me, I think the image always sells the product if you are a website seller, and it's really good to have high resolution images as well as your web images. We try and do as many of our sort of images ourselves in-house. I put my staff on a lot of photography courses, and they love it. They're getting a new skill, and we also offer all of our images to our customers as well, because it's a win-win. They get a nice image, they get the text, as Gary was saying. You help them, they sell your product. All being well, they'll put another order in, so it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to ask any questions? No?
The other thing I would say as well is I always offer, the product that I'm selling is predominantly ribbon. I will normally say, would you like some extra ribbon sending for your visual merchandising? Do you want to trial it for your packaging? Quite a few people have actually done that and said, we really like your violet stitched ribbon. We're going to use that in our gift wrapping service. So I've ended up sort of selling more as well. So, just some extra freebies put in can go a long way. Sorry, I butted in there.
Same. If you are a bricks and mortar and you said, can you just pop in an extra box so we can open it up, and we will never say no to that. The other thing actually that I've written down but I forgot to say, so I'll say, is for a lot of our bigger customers, bricks and mortar particularly, if they buy one of our stands, we offer what we call a swap out service. And ask your suppliers if they'll do this for you. So if you've got a line of theirs that's not selling, and it's gathering dust, for whatever reason, it's just not for your customers, ask them if they will, because we do this, ask them if they'll take it back and they'll give you more instead, or swap it for products that you are actually selling. Now, I love it when customers ask me this, because the worst thing for me is if I've got my product sitting on a shelf, going dusty in somebody's shop, I just want to get it out of there because I've got somebody else I can probably sell that to. So I'd rather you have products that I know you're going to sell and shift quickly, so you get ready for the new lines when they come and you haven't got a sour taste in your mouth. Well, that didn't sell, just give it back and I'll send you something that's selling. So ask your suppliers if they'll do that as well.
And also, don't be scared to ask for sale or return. I used to make handmade cards years and years ago. Most of the stores accepted me on a sale or return basis, and now I do get especially new companies and new businesses and startups and pop-up shops saying, can we do a sale or return? It works really well. I worked with a garden centre last year and they sold £1,000 worth of ribbon in 2 weeks. So don't be scared to ask about sale or return either.
Okay, finally, this is my personal favourite. Jane just started to talk about that when we were talking about the other discount scheme, but very quickly. Do you want to finish that story then?
Very quickly, was quiet. If you order in bulk, which I did a few years ago, Gisela Graham, Easter wreaths, very, very small shop. I hadn't got the space. So 500 Easter wreaths, which are quite big, takes an awful lot of space up. So I said to them, I would like a discount on the price because I'm buying a lot. I would also like you to store half of the goods because I haven't got the warehouse space. And I'd also like to pay in instalments because it's a huge, huge amount. And after a couple of phone calls, they did agree. And it was really helpful for me because I didn't have to hire any extra storage, and that is expensive.
So this is my favourite, because if you know that you're going to sell a lot of a single product with your supplier, you know through the year you're going to sell 1,000 units, let's say. It's fine if you want to order them in 200 chunks throughout the year. I prefer it if you said to me, if I order 1,000, can you keep them? I'll call them off. You'll call them off when you need them and then pay me then. It's great because it means I can go to the factory and make them happy because they want volume orders as well. So if it's just a case of storage, which is basically all it's boiling down to, you have to be brave and know you commit to it because you will sell it, but why wouldn't you? You've sold it the same the year before. Go for it. Tell them you want to order in bulk, that they have to keep it and you'll call it off. Make sure they're not going to put pressure on you to call it off in a couple of weeks. So it'll be over a year, say, we'll call it off. And a little secret here, this is what I do with our factories. And they absolutely love it because they're all about high volume. They want to keep their sock machines whirring non-stop 24 hours a day. And if I know that I'm going to if I've got a killer line that I'm going to sell loads of, I'll put in a great big order for an 18-month period. and it's happy days for everybody because they can pay their bills in the factory. I know that I've got a better price. I can pass it on to my customers.
And I think that works as well. Bulk is different things to different types of suppliers as well. So some of the smaller companies out there, suppliers, bulk might be 5 items or 50. And actually, the cost to that particular supplier, if you say, I'm probably going to go through 50, and they could make them up. I mean, Jane talked about cards and stuff. You'd be amazed how many people still make those cards in their living room or store them in their bedroom and make them up as they're watching TV with the G&T. So if you say, over the year, I'm going to sell, probably 100, then they'll get a better rate for their envelopes, their poly bags, etc. So understanding the size of the supplier and what bulk may look like gives you an opportunity to, ask for discount on there. I mean, Dave and I recently were working with a lot of the suppliers at British Craft Trade Fair. And some people actually doing 3 items of pottery pieces and things, they considered that to be a bulk order. Which fascinated, me coming from buying like Gary does from the Far East and things. It just depends. And a lot of the handmade British items, that will very much be the case.
For me, when I made the leap to order those 500 wreaths, it ended up actually being a lot more because I had a beautiful image, I styled it, I went to a lot of effort. I managed to borrow the sample wreath. I sent it into the magazines, and they work usually 6 months in advance. Country Living said, we love that wreath. And I thought, please be featured. And it was. And it flew out. We sold out. So, if you are taking that big risk with 1 item or 2 items, try and get it in the press.
That's it. We're done.
I know many of you haven't contributed or participated, but one thing I can leave you with is we'd love to hear about your story. So all the questions or things that you're doing, if actually you do go off and some of these things are relevant or there's another nice story that you've done, we'd love to write about it in the Giftware Association. You don't necessarily, it doesn't mean that you have to be a retailer member. We're a not-for-profit organisation which, tries to do good by the industry, and any of these stories are always valuable because you might be in this room and it's a great idea for somebody who might have a shop down in Truro if you're up in Retford. So please, send those to us. You can find us online. Did anybody want to ask anything that's completely irrelevant to the 5 questions?
I've got one.
Careful.
Oh, where are we?
What's DHL stand for? We're all dying to know, Gary. Come on.
It's the names of the people that started it. 3 guys. Dulcie, Hill Blooms, something else. I can't remember the L.
Really boring.
Really boring.
I was going dodgy, something, naughty, but...
No, it's boring.
I'll find out, don't worry.
Do you want to throw something at us? Or any
carrot.
questions? Nobody's leaving. No?
Very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Have you had a good
Appreciate
show anyway? I mean, yeah. Have you bought new things? Yeah. I think the personality of the show feels a lot lighter, doesn't it, this year? And actually, I've noticed that walking around, that it sort of seems as if it breathes a bit better, and you can see more of the product.
It's a better route round, for sure.
Good. Anybody else? No? Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank you.